when I learned it, you had to look at the overall number, then you had to look at, recurrent expenditure was one, capital A and capital B, and you report that for the 4 ministries. They've consolidated the capital budget now, and you know the finer lines that are under the 2 big headings, recurrent and capital expenditure. So you know how the money was planning to be spent, you know how much the police would get, how much NSWMA would get for its business. And, you know, the numbers always seem big. But when you really look at them, the bulk of the money in all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, the bulk goes to recurrent expenditure. It's unfair to say it all goes to salaries, because that's just one line under the recurrent expenditure heading. But recurrent expenses take up the bulk, and salaries take up a huge chunk of that. So we are paying the people to do the work, showing you that, you know, people are more important than everything else. Processes and systems, people are more important than them. And that's just how budget is structured. And it's funny, we can say that people are more important than processes and systems, because when you look at the procurement system that has been in the news, consequent upon that, Auditor General's report into procurement activities in the wake of Hurricane Melissa, and what the Auditor General's team says Daryl Vaz did and didn't do according to the rule book. You could have the greatest systems in the world. You could have the most finely honed processes known to man. Fact is that if the people are not in step with how to make those processes and those systems work to maximum effect, then you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have errors, you're going to have breaches, you're going to have problems. And as I sat from a distance, I wasn't in the fray when this thing came up last week, read Vaz's response, read the entire Auditor General's report on the procurement matters, I said to myself, well, you know, a lot of the hue and cry around how Vaz used his ministerial power, a lot of it is because of how some people have not evolved in their thinking to understand that regarding one situation, 10 things can be right about that one situation at the same time. And by evolution of thinking, I'm talking about how they taught us as children. As a child, they teach you that there's only one right answer. And apart from that right answer, every other option for an answer is wrong. And so that is to help you as a child when your understanding is limited, your experience is limited, and your reasoning is limited. So the educators are giving you a start to think. Because on top of that, as you get older, as you play with more children, you experience more life. The school system is designed to evolve you into reasoning. But some people don't move beyond the basic wrong or right, where there's only one right answer, everything else wrong. It is either black or white, it's either left or right, it's up or down, and nothing in between, no gray area, no guidance as to how to navigate gray areas. And so they hold on to that and they become adults with that kind of thinking, and that is most problematic. Now, based on my reading of what the Auditor General's team found. There is no question that there were breaches. So settle that in your mind, clearly, based on how the process was supposed to work. But then VAS comes back and says, well, the process I was following is this, the guidance from this publication. Now, we haven't heard from the department as to whether his reliance on the guidance he said he relied on is accurate, and if he was in order to rely on that guidance. I guess that will emerge when and if the team from the AGD is asked to attend upon Parliament, one of those public accounts committee meetings, to discuss its findings and its recommendations. I guess we'll have to wait on that to find that out. So what I'm saying is this. VAS, in responding to a national emergency of a scale like we've never handled before, engage the processes to assist the people doing the responding to the disaster, and most importantly, to the people living the disaster, picking up the pieces of their lives from the disaster. Does that mean the rules are not to be followed? Absolutely not. The rules must be followed, even in those circumstances. But does it mean that because the rules must be followed, if the rules mean delays, that VAS must accept being handcuffed to the chair while process works its way through the time it takes process to work and the stages that process takes to work out, and cause problems for those doing the responding and those receiving the assistance from those responding? No, that too is absolute bollocks. So this is where the evolution of thinking now comes in. And you say, boy, under the circumstances, do you flay a minister of government over the back with the supple jack? Do you beat him for making those decisions at that time? Do you hold sacrosanct the rules in an emergency where people are suffering like never before? Do you make allowances? Or do we say, boy, it no matter what happening, there is no discretion where these rules are concerned. There is no alternative guidance that must be followed. This is the way. If people are suffering, let them suffer. If people are got dead, make them dead. The rule must be followed. Is that what we're saying? Is the question. Or are we saying, be intelligent to the realities in front of you and make the decisions that directly affect or impact people's lives? And then you will see how the rules can be trained to make allowance for once in a lifetime events then, or generational events, where we can address them even while respecting and abiding by the rules. That's the challenge we have. Break time, back with more after this. That procurement is a problem. When you talk to the procurement professionals, they'll tell you that, listen, at least this thing in my area, in my ministry department or agency. It's straightforward. These are the rules. These are the steps. You follow them, and you're fine. Life goes on. Life continues. You talk to other people, and they tell you that, boy, it's impossible to get anything done. So what that means is that because of the fact that experiences are swinging along a continuum, clearly there's something wrong. But what is the wrong? Is it the people? Is it the process? And when will our lawmakers, who make Jeremiah look taciturn by virtue of their habitual lamentations about procurement rules, when will they stop talking and act to amend the act and the processes, if that is the problem? There is no shortage of stories about how procurement delays hamper the delivery of services, the procurement of goods. You don't hear as many stories about procurement processes working, but they work very often across the public sector, every day, every week. But we know the stories about it not working and getting in the way. And you always have to ask yourself, well, how come we got those rules? And I always say, these rules are not tablets that Moses came down from the mountain with, An alien didn't send them to us. Nobody imposed them on us. We did this thing to ourselves. And why? Because there was a time in this country not too long ago when we had politicians who many people would say were less than honest. And people in charge of aspects of the system who worked the system to the disadvantage of the taxpayer. And so these rules came in to make it more difficult. And we've covered that ground already. I feel kind of even silly saying it because we know how we got here. But clearly, something has to be done. Because I am for the rules being followed. I want to make that clear. For me, the rules must be followed. For me, that is true. Also true for me is that in times of emergency, common sense must apply. And if you are to do something to get assistance to the people providing the assistance so they can provide for the people awaiting the assistance, I am for that as well. So again, it's an extension of the line that 10 things can be right at the same time. So we need to ask our legislators very seriously. And I don't know what will be said in the throne speech on Thursday about the work that certainly Ambassador Audrey Marks and company will have to lead where the procurement rules are concerned. The throne speech, of course, an insight into the government's legislative agenda for the year. Will they signpost a major development where these rules are concerned? For VAS, on this day in sports, nobody is saying that on his watch, as per his directive, anything was stolen, which is the allegation that has been made in the past about other ministers where these issues are concerned. Yeah, man, money thief, equipment thief, this, that, unaccounted for. that phrase again, unaccounted for. I don't like it, but yeah. Starlink by missing. Where the Starlink them there? Those things are not being said. And I guess that in context, we have to be thankful for small mercies. Call it a mercy. But nobody can put that charge at his door, that on his watch, the things were bought and either they were overpaid for or they can't be found. That's not the issue. Those are not the issues. It's about the process used to bring them in. And I'd be very happy as a minister if that's the charge against me, rather than to be accused of giving a contract for the procurement of these things to a friend, a beneficial company, a beneficial partner, or that I bought 120 and the Auditor General could only find 12 with 108 missing, nobody knowing where they are. Oh gosh, I'd much rather you accuse me of what he's being accused of than the other things. But even so, we can't be satisfied with that. So what is it about the rules that would cause a sensible minister, in this case Vaz, to be doing a sensible thing, which even the critics agree it was a sensible thing to do that procurement, to bring these things in. And yet a sensible man doing a sensible thing ends up breaking the rules as cited by the Auditor General's Department. It doesn't need any weeping and moaning and accusations being flung around. It needs fixing. And the fix is impatient of delay, because too often people are dragged here and detained here in these circumstances when really they're trying to help. So for those criticizing the Auditor General's Department, saying it's not fair and balanced, that's not a credible statement. They're doing their job. Think of the Heptone song, the Book of Rules. They have their book of rules to follow. They have the law to honor as the law is written. And they have the policy guidance as their Bible as they look at these matters. And if they find that the actions do not accord with these governing principles, they have a duty to say exactly that. And that's what they've done in this case. So the department is not to be blamed for doing its job. Clearly, process needs help. Process needs to be streamlined. So the book of rules that they will use in the future makes an allowance for the kind of real-time emergency decisions that a minister of government took to address a very important situation concerning people who were at their worst. You can't tell me as a policeman, say, boy, I must walk around and arrest everybody who I see holding a cup in their right hand. That's my job. That's what you've told me to do. And I'm doing it, and your boss and I'm wicked. Why am I arresting people holding cups in their right? But that's what the law says I'm to do. Don't blame me. Blame the people who make the law them. The man who set the rules in the book and said, boy, this is what I must go by. Talk to him. I do my work. That's what the Auditor General's team is doing. But reject the sanctimony from those who would have you believe that amid all that was happening in those weeks immediately after Melissa, that a government and a minister, hearing the cries about connectivity and connections and people not knowing if them loved ones dead, alive, or missing, and hearing from people saying that, listen, I have emergency teams that I can't communicate with because everything is done. The mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, Councillor Richard Vernon, told us, it wasn't on this show, well, it was a continuity show, that, to tell you the truth, I don't know how many people are in shelters in St. James because the shelter managers are unreachable by phone because everything is down. So I don't know if somebody have a broken leg, somebody have a busted head, somebody have a broken hip at Catadupa shelter or in Salt Spring or in wherever. I don't know because I can't talk to them. The connectivity devices that would have allowed him to stay at the municipal corporation building and reach these people doesn't exist. But then you bring them in and you use them to make the communication. So you should tell Vernon that if this happens again and the public utility providers are down, if the rule says you are to do 1, 2, 3 and wait for however long it takes for the process to run its course before you can get that connectivity, you do that. I'm sure you'd have a warm time with him because he's not accepting that, not after the experience of being unable to say how many people were in shelters in his own municipality. And I'm just using him as an example. Those were the problems that the minister was trying to cure. Practical, real life. So it's a bit rich, the sanctimony from those who would make it seem as if no matter what was happening, the rules have to apply. Well, we don't need to cuss each other. We need to fix the rules. Break time. After the break, your calls.